Oopsie, I have my mic muted. Alrighty. Here's a patch 6.14 notes. A couple days late. I was super sick the day this patch came out after I got off streaming, and kind of just went straight to bed. Canceled a bunch of things that I had to do the next day. Wasn't able to do the notes then, but finally getting around to them right now. I'm also using a new mic while I look for... I think this one's too sensitive to use permanently, but might sound a bit different compared to the other ones. Not entirely sure. Haven't really listened to myself with it. I just know that it does enough to work. So one of the big changes this patch is the Ryze rework. I'm not going to talk about it too much right here. I've been asked a lot about it. He still seems like he'll spam a lot, put out a ton of damage. His wave clear is still really strong. His combos seem more meaningful now, rather than just do as much damage as possible. Just press Q in between all of your buttons and hopefully they die. And usually they will. His ult seems out of place on the kit, but the ult itself seems really strong. It seems like it's going to be too strong in competitive play, honestly, and kind of hard to use in solo queue. But seems out of place with the entire kit of the champion. And after playing him a few times top lane and seeing him played a few times mid lane, he seems like he might be better at mid lane. He's susceptible to getting ganked. He doesn't have that sustain from his ult anymore. It just seems... I think he'll be a little stronger mid. Not to say that he won't be top. I haven't seen anyone do excessively well with him yet, so it'll be hard to tell until then. But those are my initial thoughts on it. Leona got some cool changes here. Her passive went down in damage, but it's because you're going to be able to proc it a lot more often, so it can't do as much damage, or else she would seem way too strong. Her Q also went down in damage. However, the cooldown on it has been reduced by 2 seconds regardless of level, and it has an increased 20 bonus range. So now the bonus range is 50 instead of 30, so it'll be a lot easier to get it off more often. It just does less damage and applies the passive, which is going to do less damage. And apparently the stun was lasting longer than intended, but no one, I guess, really noticed because no one's played Leona in so long. The Eclipse, also a little less damage. Zenith Blade Root is increased a little bit, so it'll kind of balance out with her Q being decreased a little bit, I guess. Here's the cool change, though. Her ult, also less damage, but after using her ult, she gains a buff for 5 seconds that her next 3, 4, and 5, depending on the level of her ultimate auto attacks, will gain 100 bonus range, deal bonus magic damage depending on the level, plus a bit of an AP ratio, and apply Sunlight. Sunlight is her passive, which does less damage, but now she's getting, at level 16, 5 extra chances to proc it without her abilities. So basically, she's going to be able to proc this a lot. So that's going to be a lot of amplified damage. Kind of cool. It makes her feel like stronger solo as well with having that extra damage and whatnot. However, all of her abilities losing damage still makes her reliant on her passive. So looks like she's still intended to only be a support. Sona got some pretty big changes as well. Basically, I'm not going to go over it too much. I don't play that much Sona. But each rank of Crescendo amplifies Sona's auras, no longer. But it reduces Sona's basic ability cooldowns by 20, 30, 40%. Multiplying, not additively, but multiplicatively with normal cooldown reduction. So she can get a ridiculous amount of cooldown reduction. Also going to go through mana ridiculously fast with that. It tells you what the cooldowns will now be just based on the base cooldown reduction. And then just a bunch of other kind of changes on her. Her Q does a little bit less damage. You got to keep in mind she has a lot of CDR now. Some changes to the way that her W works and no longer increases healing on by 50% based on targets missing health. The E has more movement speed that doesn't decay when it used to decay. And it lasts additional 4 seconds when Sona's out of combat. And the aura move speed ratio has been increased by her AP, and the aura move speed duration has also been increased. So overall, Sona looks like it's hard to like look on paper from where it was to where it is now. Also, not playing Sona that often myself, so I don't really have a feel for how it used to be. She looks like she's going to be really strong, and her overall movement and mobility for herself and her entire team. It's going to be really hard to catch her and her team. So she definitely seems stronger. She'll still blow up in lane. Like, she hasn't been played that often. When I do see her get played, like, she either does really well or she feeds out of control because she's really squishy. But definitely seems stronger. Tibbers, the AI has been fixed, apparently. Well, not fixed, but made a bit better. Azir does less damage with his soldiers early, but it scales up in levels 14 to 18 to catch back up, just so he's a little less strong early. And the soldier vision range is now 350 rather than, it was 575. Jeez. So it matches their attack range indicator, so they're not going to be able to see extra and get even more advantage. So he's going to definitely like poke a little bit less in lane, seem a little weaker early, but still scale into that late game problem. Fiora buffs here. I think the biggest buff for Fiora, honestly, is her new skin. But health on Vital Hit has been increased by 5. Just straight up by 5, wherever you look at it. And the bonus attack damage ratio on her lunge has gone up 0.4 early. Still scales to the same amount, but it's a lot higher early on. It's usually what you're going to be leveling first anyway, but if you're getting that early damage, say you start the lane with 80 from your runes and like a Doran's Blade, you have like 20 bonus damage. Now you'll be getting an extra 8 AD on your or 8 damage on your Q, so that'll help in those really close fights. Alawi's indicators are now more accurate when displaying where they're going to slam. So I actually have been noticing when I've been playing against him, Alawi's, the indicators kind of feeling like they weren't proper, so hopefully that fixes that. Lee Sin's shield amount has been increased by 20 per level, minus level 1, so at level 5 it's now shielding for 80 more, so it's actually a bit of a shield. 280 is still pretty small compared to other shields, but it'll still be helpful. Lux, the damage on her passive is higher, and the damage on her Q is slightly lower to compensate, it looks like. So a little bit of power switching around there. Malzahar lost 5 movement speed and 50 basic attack range. That 50 basic attack range is going to feel really annoying for Malzahar players, I'm assuming. Losing attack range super sucks. Poppy here, she got her cooldown on her passive reduced at the first 2 intervals, so it's 2 seconds shorter at level 1. The damage is a little bit lower as well, scaling a little to a little bit lower base, but only by 10 at level 18. You're going to notice the cooldown reduction far more outweighs that, and the shield amount actually scales from 15% of her max health to 20% of her max health throughout the game, so the shield will be also stronger. And her movement speed on her W has been increased by 5% at all levels, so that'll also help her initiate. She still feels weaker though because of the wall stun not being as far, and just some of the wall interactions not being the most smooth and not going as expected. Like, you'll push them into a wall and it won't stun them, and then you'll push them beside a wall and they'll be stunned on nothing type thing. So still frustrating in that sense. Big change to Rek'Sai here. Rather than when you're seeing people with the Rek'Sai W passive, the Tremor Sense in the Fog of War, it used to refresh every 3/4 seconds. Now it's double the time and it refreshes every 1.5 seconds. So it's still really good and really strong, but it'll be a lot harder to predict because a lot can happen when they see where you were 1.5 seconds ago and then predict where you're going next. So that'll be a lot more reasonable to play against, especially with champions like Shaco or Evelynn that kind of rely on people not knowing where they're walking while they're stealth. It also won't alert Rek'Sai if the enemy is minorly moving to change direction. So say you're standing in a bush and you're playing a character that needs to face a certain way to cast an ability and you want to just slightly turn your character, it won't apply the Tremor Sense. I'm not sure how much room there is on that, but that's the general idea. Taliyah's Seismic Shove has been increased in cooldown by 4 seconds at max level. That's quite a bit. It's now vector casting like Rumble's ult or Victor's laser. I haven't really played Taliyah, so I won't notice the change really. I played her a bit on the PB, but I don't even remember those games that much. She's no longer locked out of casting other spells for half a second after casting Seismic Shove. Once again, something I didn't really notice because I never really played her. Each mine deals 15% less damage than the last one detonating on the same target for a minimum of 55% damage. If you ever dashed through her things and popped more than one, like, you felt the pain. So I'm assuming that's gonna be less strong. I've seen people like basically get 100-0 just by flying across her rocks without her doing anything. Viktor nerfs here. His level 1 upgrade costs 250 more. The perfect upgrade costs 250 less. The overall gold for it is unchanged, but his early power spike getting to that extra 250 gold, early game nerf for him. Fixed the bug where Yasuo could be locked out of his basic attack after casting Sweeping Blade or Last Breath. So some bug fixes there. Another bug fix here where his Q wouldn't always crit with 100% chance. Another bug on his Wind Wall, and another bug on his E. So just a bunch of bug fixes there. Cloud Drake or Clown Drake or Fart Dragon or whatever you want to call it actually got a buff that makes it feel really strong now. 2 Cloud Dragons now will be faster than having 3 before. Having 3 now is almost double as fast as having 3 before. Rather than getting 15 per dragon, you're now getting 25 per dragon. 25 movement speed. Out of combat, of course, not in combat, but that's still it's gonna be a noticeable amount rather than just, LOL, we got the dragon. Feels good. What's the next dragon? We were really just killing it so we could see what the next one was gonna be. So it actually feels meaningful now. I normally don't talk about other game modes, but I do kind of like 3s. So I'm going to explain these. There's a lot of changes here, specifically to 3s. I'll go through it really quick. They changed the jungle monsters to They didn't change them when they changed them on Summoner's Rift, where experience would no longer be split. It would only go to the killer. And they never lowered the experience on the jungle monsters in 3s to compensate for the fact that you get more experience if you have the jungle item. So junglers were getting so much experience in 3s. I've seen... I'm not exactly sure if they leached like a lane camp or something, but I've seen junglers get 3 off 2 camps in 3s. Kind of weird. So now they've lowered the experience on all the jungle camps to match the bonus experience that you're going to be getting extra by having the jungle item. Another thing this does, other than like normalizing the jungle experience, like the jungler was getting levels faster than the solo lanes, which was crazy. It'll also... It's still doable, I assume, but my alarm's going off. It's still doable to run a no jungle comp with an 80 support, roam around, clear the lane, clear the jungle type thing. However, they're not going to split the experience anymore, which would cause the support to fall behind if it's the 80 killing it, assumedly. Another nerf to that is that the outer turrets now have more armor, so just push comps aren't going to be as strong. The towers are actually going to last a little longer. And there's also a bunch of item changes here. So they had like special items. It was always hard to follow different game modes. They had like their own items and like own stuff. They took out this their 3's version of Bloodthirster, 3's version of Mercskim, 3's version of Warmogs, 3's version of Infinity Edge. So those have all been removed, and they just added the BF Sword family into 3's. So you can now actually get an Essence Reaver, you can get a Bloodthirster, Duskblade, and Infinity Edge. They also added Thornmail. There wasn't very many good armor picks for 3's, but now you can get a Thornmail, which is really great. The Mercskim's there as well, because they took out the other Mercskim version. And there's a Warmogs rather than the Bloodmail. Bloodmail felt kind of meh, honestly. I never really wanted to build it because I looked at it. I was like, if it was a Warmogs, maybe I'd build it, but not that. So Thornmail and Warmog is going to be a big addition to there. And here's another really big thing that you've probably seen people spamming all in your games. You can now ping abilities, your health, jungle timers, and it won't make a noise, but it'll type in chat for you. So say I'm playing Leona and my Q is up in 3 seconds and I don't want my teammates to engage until my Q's up. A lot of times it'll be being used for ults and whatnot. But say my Q. I'm not going to type in my Q is in 3. By the time I type that in, get that in chat, my teammates, if they read it and register it, it's probably already up. But now, you can just ping whatever you want to ping, and it'll be like Q 1 second, or ping the dragon buff, and it'll be like dragons up in this much time. You can ping your health bar. It'll say, if your teammates are trying to engage and you start pinging your health bar a bunch of times, it'll spam the chat, which can be bad in some situations, but it can be good if they're not noticing. And then they're like, oh wait, our top laner's pinging that he has 18% health and 2% mana. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this. So it'll let you communicate these things that need to be communicated very fast, without having to type them in and having to take your hands off the keyboard and pay attention to that and hope they actually read it and whatnot. So it'll let you get the messages off a lot faster and urgently, if that be the case. So I think that's great. For the first little bit, though, you're going to have to deal with people just spamming the hell out of chat with them because they're trying them out. Support grades now better reflect relative performance in the role. Support grades specifically weight assists equal to kills, leaving one fewer excuse for bloodthirsty flash ignites. Just for champion mastery, I guess. Nexus Siege mode is out. Kind of a cool mode. I might play that one a little bit. I usually don't play them. But that one seemed kind of fun as kind of a screw around mode. And as always, a bunch of bug fixes and the pool party skins and pool party Fiora. Just in case you wanted to see pool party Fiora. She's right there. Okay, and that's the end of the patch notes here. So thanks for watching, guys. Sorry about having them a few days late. Hopefully found that helpful. As always, social media stream link in the description underneath the video. Found it helpful, drop a like. If you're new to the channel and want to see more stuff, or feel free to look around, sub if you like it. And other than that, take it easy. Have a good day, night, and we'll see you next time.